in Australia. You may disagree with him, you may agree with him, but you know that when Alan talks, he's in there fighting for the things that he believes in. I just want to give you an example of why Alan's important. Look at all the rain we've just had. Where did it go? Down the streets to pollute the harbour, damage the fish, make it so we couldn't swim there. Kylie spent $2,500 to buy and will shortly install the first trial drain garden at the front to capture that water in this dry country. No one is looking after the water in our cities. But Kylie Ahern is going to stand there, put her money outside her property into the street to feed that sad tree you see out there. What did the council do? It hit her up for $3,000 for development charges for environmental and stormwater levies. I mean, it is simply wrong. And that's why I'm really glad to have Alan here, because I thought I'd got this thing done. And Alan and I agree that after 19 years, there's not enough change happening. So we're here with Alan, with one of the real champions of people who want low household bills and want to be able to do things when they turn the tap on that don't burn coal, that use this beautiful rainwater that's brought here free of charge from the skies. I give you the best man in town for this job, Alan Jones.
Well, look, thank you, Michael and Kylie. Can I just say, I find all of this absolutely ridiculous. We've been talking about this for so long, and the story is a simple story about just common sense. Never even enters the house, let alone going out the back door. Every aspect of this is not remarkable. It's common sense. And yet every day, now you mentioned, for example, I don't know how many of you are from Sydney or suburban Sydney, but now there are councils who really wouldn't have a clue, although they want to amalgamate them now and make them bigger and more useless. But they have provisions now where a new property being built has to compulsorily provide a detention, a water detention system. Detention. The purpose being that when the water comes down the road and down the stormwater, across the paths and the verge and whatever, it must go in underneath, and they just keep it there for a couple of days till all the other stuff goes, and then you must let it out. Where do you let it out? Into the ocean. When it gets into the ocean, what do? They then desalinate it and bring it back where it was at a cost of, now here's a Trivial Pursuits question, have a go. 3 trips first class around the world at a cost of how much to desalinate per day? If the desalination plant is turned off, the cost to you, $567,000 a day. If it's turned on, $585,000 a day. This is madness. Absolute madness. Now the genesis of this man is a genius, this fella here, an absolute genius, but you know, that doesn't mean to say geniuses are honoured. I mean, whether it's Galileo or Michael Mobbs, they want to throw stones at you. Now, I mean, to argue this case, the derivative of this, and most people here are too young to understand, but you won't have to go 30, 40, we'll say 50 years ago, it was automatic, coming back to our common sense. You built the house, and beside the house was a water tank. That was common sense. There's no other way of getting any water. There was no other way. And so the water fell, drains, out they go. You drank the rainwater. They'll tell you, don't can't drink rainwater. Hey, it's all over drank with frogs in it and everything. Way out in the bush. We didn't have anything else. Haven't done too badly, I don't think. However, then they want power. That is political power. And local councils then decided the way to have power was to be in charge of 2 essential services, electricity and water. So suddenly, council ordains that you can't have a rainwater tank. So houses were built, hundreds of thousands of them, in this city and in other cities, without a rainwater tank. The result being now, if you want to go back to the future and build the rainwater tank, there's no room in the house to build the rainwater tank, but that gave councils power. And so the power was over the purse, and they then charged you for electricity, and they charged you for water. So then when you get someone like Michael who says, I don't want to be on the grid, I don't want your power, and I don't want your water, they're thinking, hello, if we have too many Michael mobs, we are in trouble. So he's public enemy number one, because he's the council enemy. They might have to find their money some other way, or stop the waste and extravagance that's involved. Now, Kylie made the point, the very simple point, that we have simple challenges facing us. I'm fighting this terrible battle about coal seam gas vis-a-vis prime agricultural land. I mean, the notion that you could go to the Liverpool plains with soil that you could eat and have a disturbance area, it's almost possibly generated, of 8,000 acres and a hole in the ground of 350 metres, that's what's going to be left. And they'll detonate 3 times a day, every day for 30 years. Can you believe that anyone in Macquarie Street could believe that was sensible? For what? To give the Chinese government coal that they don't want. Now, to fight for this, and so what Michael is saying is that if there are people out there, whether they're farmers or whether they're Kylies, who can save water, who can preserve the land, who can save the trees, then they should be getting rebates on the rates that they pay. What is the incentive to say, harvest your own water? Now, not only harvesting their own water, but harvest the stormwater. And so we've got a map. Here we are here. I mean, there ought to be 10,000 people in the street wanting to hear this story. And I bet you've sent this story out to every media outlet in town. Oh, no, you know, there's other more important things to talk about. There's nothing more important for the future than this. I mean, here in this city, we're about urban consolidation. So Bob Carr said, that means you don't have these places anymore. You have a block of land, you knock this down and you go up. I mean, North Sydney, St Ives, DY, everywhere, they're up 150 metres in the air, aren't they? And there's been no dam built in this city since 1950. So every one of them has got 2 bathrooms. And if you came, there are certain things, if you brought someone from outer space, they'd laugh at you. First one is to say, oh, look, we have a problem here about unemployment. You know, there's a lot of young people can't get jobs. Oh, that's sad, isn't it? Well, it is, but when you give someone a job, you're taxed. I beg your pardon? Yeah, when you give someone a job, you're taxed. It's called a payroll tax. They think you're off your head. So you've got a bloke who's willing to give someone a job, but immediately he does, he's got to be taxed because he's given him a job. And so you'd say to people in relation to water, for example, now, you see the jug over there that we're going to make our tea with? Oh, yeah, right. And they've had lovely water to make tea. We do boil the water. But the toilet, we're going to flush the toilet with the same water we make our tea with. Oh, and then every time you have a pee, you know, 5 times a day, flush it again, 5 times a day. Can you just, you've got to say these things slowly. Are we seriously saying that, which is true, almost every house, every apartment in this massive city of 4.4 million people flushes the toilet with the same water they make their tea with? And you can't get through to anybody. You can't have anyone sponsor what Michael keeps on saying, or Kylie said. Here's a young lady who knows the story to have grey water, and that can be used for everything. Used for washing. You know, basically, I remember in Toowoomba, when they had a massive drought in Toowoomba, and a mayor up there who wasn't particularly popular wanted to recycle water. Remember this? They ran her out of town. They ran this woman out of town. She lost the vote. Some millionaire, Berghofer, had more money than sense, so he went around, and I don't swear in front of ladies. Well, I don't swear much at all, but I don't swear in front of ladies. But I mean, basically, this bloke ran a campaign. And he said, we don't want people at Toowoomba drinking SHIT. He won the whole deal. This woman's recycled water was going to have a higher level of purity than is used for a kidney transplant. True, for a kidney transplant. recycled water. We have the latest technology everywhere where we can take whatever it is, separate the water from the solids, bring the stuff back, and it's usable. I mean, how many times has the water of London been recycled?
Yeah. 7.
Oh, how many?
7.
7 times. 7 times. Not a whimper. Because they couldn't survive otherwise. And that's what this is predicated on. Then there's the electricity, you see. So Michael says, well, we're not using off these. Or Kylie says, off the grid. And I can't, and then the cost, you've done a brilliant job here. I just went through this last night, which was fantastic. Look at the savings and involved here. But you see, we don't want to tell anyone about this because they'll be attracted to it. So that's one of the reasons why, you know, we don't want publicity about this. I'm going to talk to you. Sorry, I wasn't talking to you this week, but Paris is terrible, isn't it, over there? Paris has taken over. But there's the on-grid house. I mean, the figures are there. An on-grid house, Kylie's off-grid house. She saved $1,500 on electricity, gas and water. Okay, she doesn't have to source any water from the dams. Nothing comes into Kylie's house from Warragamba dams. 90,000 litres. I mean, 90,000 litres, how many Kylies have we got? Multiplied by 90,000 litres. I mean, it's a pretty significant contribution, I would have thought. And you can do this, I mean, farmers do it and always have done it, but get no recognition or credit for it in terms of the way they're rated. Oh yes, then the landfill. What about that? All the wasted food and what you've done. Well, you've done, how many years have you done that? At Chipper?
About 30.
Yeah. Been doing it for 30 years, Chipper, no. And well, the thing is that when we talk on air and when you speak somewhere, everyone says, what about that bloke? Isn't that a great idea? But everyone is so busy that they don't get round to doing it, do they? And of course, they're under the thumb of councils. And you know yourself how you've struggled to not be charged for services you're not using. It's unbelievable, isn't it? That they're still charging you for services. Now, I don't know whether Niall Blair, was he coming or was he written?
He didn't answer this time. He's not coming. But we've got a little present for him.
Oh, well, we'll get hold of him, don't you worry. Well, look, he's not, see, he's one of the people, he's not a bad bloke, this fella, and he's wanting to learn. But, of course, for everything he learns from you, he's got 20,000 bureaucrats telling him the opposite story.
Right. That's right.
You know, this is the point.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say this, but I will. It's got nothing to do with being here today. But I'll give you an example. There's a rugby league player you would have read about. This is what I'm saying, the battle. This is the metaphor of the battle that we fight. There's a rugby league player, and I hope you don't know anything about rugby league, but if you do, you'll know what I'm talking about, who's been in the papers a lot because, basically, they're trying to deport this bloke. He got involved in a fight. And the magistrate gave him 2 years jail for getting involved in the fight. But the magistrate didn't hear all the evidence. There was certain evidence kept back. So the story is that then, when all the evidence was presented to an appeal judge, they found out that this fellow had the most horrific background. At 15 years of age, with alcoholic parents in New Zealand, he was drinking 15 cans of alcohol a day, this fellow. He was an absolute alcoholic at 15, a kid, and yet sobered up, ducks of his school, brilliant athlete, brilliant talent and whatever. Never, ever, through all of this, had a problem with the law ever, and a bloke hit him one night, Saturday night, when they were all on the grog, and he hit back. Now, nowhere in the evidence before the magistrate was it indicated that the other bloke had hit him first, not that retaliation is a justification, but I'm simply saying, now, why am I telling you this story? Well, it wasn't until I spoke to the federal minister that he said, I haven't been told all this. They're going to deport the bloke. I haven't been told all this. This information is withheld from the minister. So, of course, here we are at 3 minutes to midnight, and the minister's now most probably got to sort of stand himself on his head and revise things he's already said because new information's been presented and so on. Now, this is exactly the same with the water minister. By the time Michael gets to the water minister, gets to read this stuff here, he's had bureaucrats in his head already telling him, make up your mind, it's no go. No, there's a terrible problem here for A, B, C, D and E reasons. Then he hears a bit of common sense from someone like Michael Mobbs, and he says, well, no one told me this. No one's telling this story. You'd think the first person on the doorstep here would be the Premier and the second person would be the Treasurer. Why? We're saving your money. You mean to say, the Premier would say, the Treasurer, we don't have to provide these services to you? Holy Godfather, what's that mean? If we could get 1 million Kylies, think about how we could cut the size of the public service, we cut the size of tendering, which the overall cost of the administration of government. Isn't this a good thing? Isn't this self-reliant thing we're constantly talking about? Looking after yourself, don't be dependent on someone else. We've got our own energy, and the surplus energy, we can whack it into the grid. We've got our own water. We don't actually send the garbage into the landfill. We don't actually send all that storm water away. We look after it, and we've got a beautiful environment in which to live. Why wouldn't we tell that story? Get government out of our lives. And then, of course, as Kylie's proven here, or Michael's proven here with all these figures, money in the pocket. The plumbing required, Michael says here, for recycling treated waste water, for flushing toilets, washing clothes and watering the garden will be pre-installed to make future disconnection from main an easy process. So it's straightforward, if you want to, but this is washing your clothes or watering the garden. I mean, we have dry days and so you can't water the garden, we've got no water. Of course you've got no water, it's got to come out of Warragamba Dam. Under this system here that Kylie's talking about, off the grid, we can water the damn garden all day. Beautiful flowers, beautiful veg. Well, you grow through the system, we grow all our own veg. What can you say? You're a star because you're gutsy. You know, you're gutsy. I mean, you wouldn't have known anything about this when you started.
No, Michael's been...
That's it, you see. And Michael's so excited that, you know, you've actually accepted the challenge. But I mean, your encouragement for the bushy too, Michael. You know, what incentive is there for the farmer who uses his own water, who wants to preserve his own soil? I mean, the best environmentalist in the country is the farmer. He wants to pass the farm on to his son and his son's sons and his son's sons. This bloke knows all about the environment. He's not going to despoil the environment, which has provided a lifestyle and an income for years and years and years. And look, you get this glorious produce that you've got here. And that's what we're about. And then Michael says, I think there's a paper here that you've done on rate rebates and so on to try and encourage government as to how they should say to people, well, look, if you become independent of the grid or you are using your own water, saving your own trees, preserving the quality of your own soils, then we're going to say, go to it and we'll throw a bit of this rebate money back at you. I don't understand. Look, I've been around a long time. I don't understand why there is a roadblock to what we're on about here today. But we've just got to keep at it. We'll eventually get there. But, you know, we hope that there'll be 1 million Kylies. And we hope we can teach great that there are young ones here today. Teach the young ones there is another way. And this is the other way. What we all need to do, and I'll even pay for it, Kylie, when we're finished, we'll have a party here, and we'll flush every toilet in the place.
We'll only get two.
We'll flush the toilets, we'll drink the water, we'll check out the garden, and because it's just a fabulous, fabulous story. I don't know where you people come from, but thank you for coming, because we can just share the story with everybody. This is a common sense story. Basically, you can sum it up in 4 or 5 points. 1, we don't need your water, we've got our own. We don't need your power, we've got our own. We don't need to waste any of the rubbish or whatever, we're going to take care of our own. And we're going to encourage other people to do likewise. And we want to say to council, understand that we don't need you, we won't need you now, we won't need you tomorrow. Go away from us, leave us alone. I don't know what your grid is, but we don't want to be on it. It's pretty simple, you know, and that's the story, and we've got to tell that story. So thank you for coming. Congratulations to you, and you heroine, for taking the risk. Look at this, you know, my God, what a mess. But it's lovely to see it in this